It's the end of the world and we blew it. Well, welcome back to another edition of 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse Halloween Extravaganza Special Edition and all that wonderful shit, because we're only 3 days out from the 31st. And how about a little end of the world scenario? Not that we ain't got fucking missiles pointing at us now, but back in 1955, Roger Corman made a movie called The Day the World Ended for a company called American Releasing Corporation, ARC, which became American International Pictures down the road. It was co-billed with another sci-fi type movie, Phantom from 10,000 Leagues. And in this one we are facing TD Day, total destruction by nuclear weapons. And only a few people survive that are going into a valley that has lead ore in the mountains, and this old sea captain and his daughter Louise is there. The sea captain played by Paul Birch, and his daughter played by Laurie Nelson. And Hood and his stripper girlfriend show up, played by Mike Touch Connors and Adele Jurgens. A crusty old prospector, Pete, played by Raymond Hatton. And the hero of the piece, Rick, played by Richard Denning, and a man burned by the nuclear radiation, Radek, played by Paul Duvo. So now we have all the elements of a little potboiler here, because basically they can't leave the valley because of the radioactive mist drifting in the fallout. The captain had enough food for three, one which didn't show up, the brother, and basically got to ration the things off. Well, Tony ain't too happy about this, and Tony gets smacked around a lot by Rick. So there's a lot of interplay. They don't think Radek is going to live, but Radek does live and tells Rick that he can't eat this, he needs meat, raw red meat. And he goes, if you go out there and there's game out there, and he goes, you'll die from eating that. And he goes, well, you would die, but not me. So, things progress and tensions arise because Tony wants Louise instead of Ruby, and Ruby knows this. So they also find out that they're not alone in the valley, because Radek is setting traps to get meat, and all of a sudden you see this figure in the background walking toward him, and he takes off, and you see a three-fingered claw reach down and pick up the dead rabbit. So then the captain and Rick are roaming around. They find the bones, and they said, Radek can't be eating this, he'll die. And then somebody comes out of the mists, a guy that's really mutated and screaming food, they wouldn't give me any, and there's others out there but stronger than I am, and that little bit is played by Jonathan Hayes. Well, they come back the next day, and they find out that there's nothing left but bones. And the captain feels that Radek was the one who ate him and calls him a scavenging ghoul and said he's going to kill him. In the meantime, Radek has taken Pete's burro for dinner and is walking him out and kills the burro. But as he's planning to cut off a steak, the three-clawed hands grab him on each side of the neck and kill him. Well, they find the burro, they find Radek. There's a bunch of discussion of what was going on. It seems that Radek was getting worse as far as growing shit on him. And, well, Pete's despondent because he lost his burro. So now they're all wondering if all this shit's going to happen to them. Well, Pete gets a little pissed off and decides to leave and go up and prospect for his gold, and the captain follows him, but Pete knocks him unconscious, and Pete goes up into the mist and starts digging in the mountain until he collapses dead. The captain is now radiation poisoned and goes back. Tony tries to seduce Louise, but brings a knife into the mix with him and is stopped by Ruby, who basically gives him the wherewithal and, this and that and the other thing. But then Tony stabs Ruby and throws her body off the cliff. Now we're getting climactic, because if it rains, the rain could be radioactive and kill them all. So Louise is sure she's being stalked, and she is, by a three-eyed creature with arms growing out of its shoulders and fangs and stuff like that. The backstory is it's probably her brother who was coming to find her. But the thing is, the thing won't go near the lake, and Tony is back with the captain, and it's raining, and he gets a cup full of rain, and they check it with the Geiger counter, and it's pure, and then the captain has an epiphany. It wouldn't go near the lake because of pure water. Well, the creature is caught out in the rain and is being soaked and basically is dying because this is pure water and he can only live in a contaminated world. So Louise and Rick go back, and Tony's going to shoot Rick and take Louise when the captain puts one through his back. Then the captain dies, and they're setting off to find a new world because they heard an actual voice on the radio, the shortwave radio they had. So it starts off, instead of the end, the beginning, and Rick and Louise walk off. I saw this on the Big Show, which I'd spoken about before, that 4 o'clock movie showcase on Channel 7 ABC, and they showed this during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So yeah, I don't know how old I was. It probably was late 50s, early 60s. I'm thinking early 60s, and that scared the shit out of me. And the movie is pretty well played out. I mean, you look at it first as a sci-fi thing, but there's some really good acting going on, especially by Adele Jurgens, who basically is doing her routine and breaks down in tears, realizing that she'll never do this routine in front of everybody again. The cast is really good. The monster was created by Paul Blaisdell and was one of his many creations. Paul Dubbo was in a bunch of AIP stuff. Voodoo Woman, where he was basically the sleazy bar owner, and The She Creature, where he was the sleazy carny guy. He did a shitload of TVs during the 50s and 60s and was a pretty familiar face. Paul Birch was one of Corman's stock players who had a falling out with him on the set of Not of This Earth, and according to reports got physical and punched Roger out on the set, never worked for him again. Mike Connors came back for a couple more movies. Laurie Nelson was in Revenge of the Creature and some other ones. And Richard Denning was a big hero in the 50s as far as fighting monsters like the Black Scorpion and other things. So if that wasn't enough to shake you up, late at night, I don't know, it had to be, I don't know, going into the late 60s, I pick up this movie that was shot in 1962 on late night TV about 1:30 in the morning called Panic in Year Zero, directed by Ray Milland, who also starred. It's the usual family going on a vacation with their trailer, heading out of Los Angeles. Frankie Avalon's the son, there's a daughter, I think Jean Crane's the mom. And as they're driving up into the country, there's a big flash behind them. And they get out of the truck and see a huge mushroom cloud over Los Angeles. They go to a payphone, they try to call, of course there's no answer. Then they go to a roadside diner where the prices are tripled and everybody's heading out. So their best bet is they go into the sleepy town, wake up the grocer, and basically drop a shitload of money on supplies and then ask him to call the hardware guy, who was played by Richard Garland. And they basically get a bunch of stuff, including guns, but they don't have enough money to cover the guns, so they basically have to rob them. So then they go to this campsite where they don't want anybody to find them, but in the meantime they're waylaid by 3 thugs, and they manage to shoot one in the shoulder. This is going to not bode well later on. So Frankie says that they know there's a big cave and they can all hide in there, so they basically hide in the cave, they ditch the trailer, and hang out. They know there's other people in the area, and they hear shots, and they find that the hardware store guy had found their trailer and was living in it with his wife, and they found him dead and his wife raped and shot. They know there's something else going on because when mom and the daughter are doing their laundry, the daughter is grabbed by 2 of the scumbags that waylaid him before and is raped off camera, and mom takes a shot at him. So now they know these fuckers are here, and Ray Milland and Frankie go in search of them and find a farmhouse where 2 of them are hanging out and basically blow them away. The other resident of the farmhouse is a teenage girl whose parents were shot and killed, and she's basically been used as a sex toy for anybody they want to farm out with, so they take them back. So everything's okay for a while, but then, of course, thug number 3 shows up and shoots Frankie in the leg, and the girl shoots him. Now they have to leave and try to find some medical aid, and they pull into this town and find a doctor who greets them with a gun and says he can only do so much, that there are soldiers up ahead, and, you know, you can do something. And he goes, just be careful on the road, and this is my favorite line in the whole movie, because the highways are crawling with thieving, murdering patriots. Sound familiar? So anyway, they do reach a blockade. The soldiers do check them out, find them good, and send them on their way for medical aid. And one of the soldiers goes, well, there's 4 healthy ones that'll help, survive. And that was it. It's basically played straight. It works very well with very, very little special effects or anything except for, the shots of the mushroom cloud. There is that aura of tension throughout the whole thing, like you know something bad is going to happen, and it does. And everybody involved plays it out really good. I think this is available on Kino Lore, but it's not out of print. So that's our end of the world scenario, and 2 days to go. So until tomorrow, stay safe. We'll catch you on the flip side with some more Monster Mania tomorrow.